He sits alone in his room on his birthday, cutting a cake for one. He brings a small bite to his lips only to find the taste is awful. The sudden bitterness makes him recoil, spitting the mouthful onto the floor. He then looks at his phone at the happy lie he posted for everyone to see. But behind the facade, he desperately wishes for someone to actually care. He leans back feverish and weak, wanting nothing more than a simple greeting. The world spins as his fever spikes, and he collapses from his chair. He wakes to the sound of someone crying for help in a strange, snowy landscape. Then he sees the source of the cries, a monster with a gaping tooth-filled maw. Nearby, an unconscious woman with a dark ponytail falls through the chaos. He is suddenly on the ground, cornered by a massive white-furred beast. From a swirling red vortex, a dark, shadowy figure begins to emerge. Its clawed hand rips through the dimensional tier. This impossible new reality makes him wonder if he has somehow transmigrated. A woman's voice suddenly calls out a name. He looks up to see her standing over him as he kneels in the snow. Her face is a mask of fury as she screams at him. She then unleashes a powerful sweeping strike into the fray. The force of her blow sends him flying across the frozen landscape. He lands hard, clutching his head as he realizes the name she screamed is his own. The name cements the impossible truth in his mind. He has transmigrated. He now finds himself on the Star Marshal continent, a world crackling with raw energy. This power emanates from interdimensional gates that have appeared across the world. Through these portals, all kinds of fantastical and dangerous creatures have invaded. But their arrival also brought a new power called Star Force, awakening abilities in certain humans. The potential of these Awakeners is measured by the number of star slots in their personal chart. He now inhabits the body of Jiang Zio Pai, an Awakener with an extremely poor aptitude. That very name is spoken again by the woman standing before him. He looks up at Han Jiangsu, the original owner's immensely talented half-sister. She roughly pulls him to his feet, her grip tight as she complains about the cold. Just then, a new voice calls out to them from the snowy woods. A woman carrying a greatsword runs towards them, waving in relief. She immediately hugs Han Jiangsu, and he recognizes her from his new memories as Xia Yan. Her attention then shifts to him as she speaks a familiar nickname. She leans in close, her expression turning serious as she scolds him for being so careless. Then she ruffles his hair, telling him how much he worried his sister. He watches them embrace, recalling that Han Jiangsu brought him here to train, but the original owner panicked during a monster hunt and ran off aimlessly. A sudden chilling thought stops him in his tracks. He realizes Han Jiangsu only killed one of the monsters they were fighting. His dread is confirmed as the second larger monster towers over them. A wave of pure panic washes over him and a cry escapes his lips. The beast lunges directly for him as his sister screams a warning, but before it can reach him, Han Jiangsu tackles him out of its path. He lands with his face pressed against her as the monster's claws tear through the air above. Its talons crackle with a chilling blue energy. The creature then leaps into the air, gathering its power for another strike. Han Jiangsu looks up with fierce determination, calling out to her friend for support. Xia Yan answers the call with a confident smirk. She faces the diving beast, her greatsword erupting in a torrent of scorching flames. With a powerful leap, she soars into the air to meet the monster head-on. Her flaming blade connects squarely with the creature's skull. The blow lands with a searing impact, stopping the beast's charge completely. The sheer force of the strike sends the monster hurtling backward through the air. It crashes hard into a snowbank as Xia Yan lands smoothly on her feet. She looks down at the dazed creature, noting its impressive durability. The snow killin glares back, snarling despite the powerful hit it just took. Her confidence never wavers as she readies her glowing greatsword for the final blow. She brings the massive blade down in a clean, brutal arc, ending the creature's life. From his position on the ground, he looks up at Xia Yan standing over them like a conquering hero. Still pressed against his sister, he can only marvel at the incredible power of an Awakener. Xia Yan lets out a sharp exhale, the tension of the battle finally leaving her. She slings the massive sword over her shoulder, proudly proclaiming their teamwork was flawless. Her boast earns a sharp glare from Han Jiangsu, who is still being held by her flustered brother. Xia Yan then moves to pry them apart, teasing them about their sibling bonding moment. Han Jiangsu quickly reminds her that the smell of blood will attract more monsters. He recalls from the original owner's memories that these creatures can drop valuable star beads. He now understands that these beads are the source of the incredible skills the two women possess. His thoughts are interrupted when Xia Yan calls out to him with a familiar, insulting nickname. She tells him it is time for a practical lesson on how to harvest the spoils of a hunt. She reveals a glowing blue orb, explaining that a creature's star bead can only be found in one place. He nervously guesses the brain, and her condescending praise confirms he is correct. To demonstrate, she explains the need for a sharp tool and draws a small dagger. She then plunges the blade forcefully into the dead snow killin's skull. A gloved hand reaches deep into the bloody cavity she just created. Her arm pushes further into the creature's head, searching through its brain matter. She pulls her hand out empty, announcing with disappointment that this one did not have a star bead. Xia Yan then tosses the bloody dagger to him, telling him to practice on the other monster. monster. He fumbles with the weapon, horrified at the thought of digging through a creature's brain. He grips the cold fur, realizing that survival in this dangerous world means he cannot afford to be squeamish. Steeling his resolve, he raises the dagger high, his bright blue eyes fixed on his gruesome task. After he finishes, Xia Yan sighs with disappointment, announcing that this monster also lacked a star bead. She explains that star beads are already rare, making the acquisition of a star technique from one even more difficult. The harsh reality of his new life sinks in, and he wipes his mouth while acknowledging that luck is as important as talent. His sister looks at him with sudden concern, sensing an unfamiliar maturity in his demeanor. She silently wonders if the slap she gave him earlier somehow caused this sudden change. Breaking him from his thoughts, she calls out his name. He turns to see her holding out a glowing orb, explaining it is a star bead she saved for him. He stares in awe at the swirling cosmic energy contained within the beautiful crystal sphere. Holding it, he laments his own limitations, knowing his 9 star slots mean he is destined for only 9 techniques. He closes his hand around the bead, beginning the absorption process. A torrent of blue energy surges from the orb, engulfing his entire body. The world outside vanishes, and he finds himself floating in a strange ethereal space. A glowing blue interface materializes before him, displaying the details of his inner star chart. He realizes he is inside his own sea of consciousness and wonders if the phrase current star chart implies he could have more than one. A system prompt appears below him, and a beam of light scans his body as it detects the new star bead. The scan completes, displaying the bead's 2 techniques and asking if he wishes to merge and absorb them. Hope ignites within him as he discovers he can merge 2 techniques into a single star slot, a possibility he eagerly accepts. His consciousness returns to the snowy mountain, where his sister is waiting to ask if the absorption was a success. Before he can answer, Xia Yan grabs his sister's arm with a panicked look on her face. She urgently warns them that another hunting squad is approaching their position. A moment later, a squad of 4 men in matching uniforms arrives, discovering the already harvested monsters. One of the newcomers speculates that the culprits might be the same team that wiped out a nearby snow-killing clan. Her companion complains about their own poor luck, having found very few star beads from the clan they just fought. The squad's captain smirks, ordering his team to stay alert and prepare to take the beads from the other team if they find them. From behind a snowdrift, he and his companions watch the hostile squad pass by, their intentions now chillingly clear. The rival captain orders his squad to move on, leaving the harvested corpses behind. Their footsteps are the only sound as they disappear into the falling snow. Once the danger has passed, he and his companions finally slump in relief against a tree. He looks up, still processing what he overheard, and asks why anyone would hunt for white ghost shaman cubs. Xia Yan scoffs at his ignorance, beginning to explain the extreme scarcity of white ghost shamans. She describes how a single powerful shaman leads an entire clan of the lesser white ghosts. More importantly, she reveals that their star beads contain healing techniques, the rarest and most valuable of all. He gasps in shock as she details the astronomical price difference between a regular bead and a shaman's. His sister then adds a grim warning, reminding him that humans can be just as dangerous as monsters here. She goes on to explain that the star beads of other Awakeners are a potent source of pure energy. Xia Yan looks up in disbelief at the bluntness of this lesson. The horrifying implication dawns on him. Awakeners hunt and kill each other for the beads in their heads. He collapses into the snow, overwhelmed by the brutal reality of this world where death lurks around every corner. A gentle hand rests on his head as his sister tells him it is time for them to leave this place. She explains to Xia Yan that with their star force running low, they must get back to a supply point before nightfall. With their course set, the 3 of them begin their long trek back through the snow. They walk in single file across the vast, desolate landscape. His sister glances back, misinterpreting his silence as disappointment over failing to absorb a star technique. She tries to console him, telling him not to put so much pressure on himself. He forces a weary smile, clarifying that he is simply grappling with the sheer brutality of his new life. Her expression softens slightly as she tells him that this world has always been this way. Her words are cut short as Xia Yan spots a terrifying sight over the next ridge. A massive horde of white ghosts immediately gives chase, forcing the 3 of them to run for their lives. Xia Yan glances back, shouting in disbelief at the sheer number of creatures pursuing them. Han Jiangsu realizes that so many white ghosts gathering in one place can only mean one thing. He panics, connecting her words to the rare white ghost shaman the other squad was hunting. Xia Yan knows that while 1 or 2 are manageable, an organized attack on this scale is a death sentence. The monstrous pack thunders down the slope, their powerful legs closing the distance with every second. One of the beasts lets out a furious roar, its glowing eyes promising a violent end. Refusing to run any further, Xia Yan turns to face the horde, igniting her greatsword with blazing power. Han Jiangsu prepares a spell of her own just as a mysterious red energy manifests from an unseen source. An immense crimson shockwave suddenly erupts from behind them, tearing through the charging monsters. Through Through the chaotic blast, a single white ghost leaps forward, its claws aimed directly at him. His sister's eyes widen as she sees the attack about to land. She shoves him out of the way, taking his place as he screams her name in terror. The creature's sharp talons rip through her uniform and tear a deep gash across her back. The force of the blow sends them both tumbling violently through the air. Xia Yan watches, helplessly screaming her friend's name in utter horror. He lands hard in the snow, looking up in a daze at his sister's still form. His hands sink into the snow right beside a fresh splatter of her blood. He can only scream her name, his voice raw with terror as he stares at her unmoving body. A sudden desperate thought cuts through his panic as he remembers the star bead he just absorbed. A wave of crimson energy erupts from him, enveloping his sister's wounded form in a gentle warm light. Her eyes flutter open, her consciousness stirring at the unfamiliar power coursing through her. She feels herself floating in a vast ethereal space, adrift in an ocean of pure star force. The gash on her back glows with the same crimson light, the torn flesh knitting itself back together at an impossible speed. A comforting warmth spreads through her entire body, soothing away the pain of her injuries. The soothing warmth intensifies into a blistering heat, overwhelming her senses completely. He holds his sister, bewildered, as she lies dazed in his arms, blowing strange bubbles of energy. His confusion is cut short as a massive white-furred creature with pointed ears appears on the ridge, its gaze fixed upon them. The hulking white ghost shaman looks down, commanding its smaller kin to charge forward. But his sister suddenly pushes herself to her feet, standing protectively before him with a renewed icy resolve. He stares up at her in utter disbelief, shocked by her impossible recovery. An intricate golden star chart then materializes behind her, radiating an immense and unfamiliar power. She clenches her fist, gathering a torrent of violent crimson energy in her palm. The raw power forms a swirling vortex that instantly engulfs one of the charging white ghosts. With a sharp cry, she unleashes the devastating force in a massive fiery explosion. The blast completely obliterates the monster, leaving only a blinding flash of light. A blue interface suddenly appears in his vision, announcing he has earned a skill point for the kill. He can only stare blankly into the snow, having no idea what a skill point even is. Their brief respite is broken by Xia Yan, who rushes to Han Jiangsu's side with a cry of relief. His sister, however, cuts the reunion short, her eyes fixed grimly on the remaining monsters. She channels her energy again, summoning a ball of raging fire into her open hand. The resulting pillar of explosive flame shoots forward, incinerating another beast in its path. Two more white ghosts are sent tumbling away by the sheer force of the fiery blast. Panting from the exertion, she warns that they must defeat the shaman before their power is completely depleted. As if on cue, the white ghost shaman begins to chant, showering its minions in streams of green restorative light. It raises its gnarled staff and roars, casting a powerful blessing to bolster its remaining forces. The shaman's blessing takes hold, wrapping one of the white ghosts in a swirling aura of restorative light. Another beast rises to its feet, its wounds closing as the green energy surges through its massive frame. He shouts in frustration, realizing they will be worn down if the shaman keeps healing its minions. A desperate plan forms as Xia Yan yells for Han Jiangsu to use her wild wind technique to launch her into the sky. But his sister instead turns to him, raising a hand to summon the requested gale. A vortex of wind suddenly lifts him off his feet, sending him soaring high above the snow. Suspended in the air, he frantically scans the chaotic battlefield for their true target. His eyes suddenly widen as he finally spots the shaman through the swirling blizzard. From his aerial vantage point, he points down and shouts the enemy's position to his companions. Han Jiangsu receives the coordinates, yelling for them to break through 200 meters to the southwest. With their target confirmed, she kicks off the ground in a burst of speed. She leads the charge with a look of fierce determination, her eyes fixed on their goal. He lands and sprints to catch up, following close behind her. Xia Yan brings up the rear, her greatsword at the ready as they close in on the shaman's location. She then leaps forward, igniting her blade with a roaring torrent of fire. With a powerful swing, she unleashes a massive arc of flame that soars across the snow. The fiery attack slams into one of the shaman's bodyguards, engulfing it completely. As the beast is incinerated, Xia Yan realizes with a shock that her attack was only a decoy. He suddenly appears directly above the real shaman, yelling that he is the one it should be focused on. The shaman and its final guard look up in shock as he descends upon them from the sky. His sister's calm gaze meets Xia Yan's panicked shriek as they both realize his true intention. He channels his star force, forming a glowing blade of energy around his arm as he plummets toward his target. They can only scream his name as he commits to the suicidal dive, but instead of him, a phantom figure made of blue energy materializes before the shaman. The ethereal decoy dissolves into wisps of light upon making contact. Xia Yan watches in disbelief, realizing he just used the white ghost shaman's own technique against it. His sister stares in utter shock, unable to comprehend how this is possible. She knows that the star bead he absorbed was supposed to be a healing technique. Yet from behind, he lands a solid kick, sending the real shaman stumbling forward. A confident smirk smirk spreads across his face as he begins to taunt the creature. He mockingly asks if it thought it was the only one who could use a decoy. With the shaman distracted, he plunges his hand deep into its back. A system notification confirms the kill and awards him a skill point, unlocking dagger mastery. The shaman's final bodyguard lunges forward, its claws aimed for his head. He turns just in time to face the enraged beast. It lets out a furious roar, its eyes glowing with murderous intent. But as he draws a newly acquired dagger, the monster suddenly turns and flees in terror. He lets out a breath of relief, clutching the dagger as his companions call out to him. Xia Yan and his sister rush to his side, their faces etched with concern. His sister stops before him, her expression hardening as she demands an explanation for his new powers. He averts his gaze, unsure of how to even begin to describe what happened. Standing atop the slain shaman's corpse, he asks if they can talk once they find a safer place. Later that night, they make camp and finally have the conversation he promised. Han Jiangsu stares into her warm drink, her voice heavy as she processes his dual skills and rare medical typing. He watches her, confused by her somber reaction when he expected her to be pleased. Xia Yan then asks if he truly understands the gravity of becoming a medical type Awakener. She explains that Awakeners are categorized by type, and those with an affinity for healing are destined for greater power. Unlike combat-focused Awakeners like herself, medical types are exceedingly rare, with only 1 in 100 successfully awakening such skills. He still fails to see the problem, thinking that such rarity would make him a valuable asset. But his sister's gaze hardens as she tells him he does not understand the true implications. She explains that every regulated field team desperately seeks a medical type for their roster. These healers are the key to a squad's endurance and very survival in the field. The full weight of her words finally hits him with a jolt. He realizes they are not impressed but worried for his safety. With his low aptitude, he knows he will be treated as a disposable tool, forced into one dangerous mission after another. His sister suddenly looks up with fierce resolve, declaring that he will quit this life and become a normal doctor instead. He reels in shock, his dreams of becoming a powerful Awakener suddenly replaced with the image of a hospital. Xia Yan objects to her overprotective decision, insisting that he must be allowed to choose his own path. His sister admits that she understands, yet she cannot bring herself to agree. An uncomfortable silence falls over the campfire as she retreats into her thoughts. He struggles for a way to ease the heavy atmosphere between them. He then tries to lighten the mood, reminding them that at 16 his future is still a long way off. Xia Yan breaks the heavy silence, pulling his sister up with a grin and suggesting they count their gains. She then turns to him, her expression firm as she insists he get some rest for his training tomorrow. He can only smile in response, touched by her earnest concern for his future. The next morning, her voice rings out across the snow, calling his name to begin the promised training. She yells instructions from the sidelines, telling him to outsmart his opponent rather than face it head-on. His opponent is a massive white ghost which roars down at him with terrifying force. Xia Yan calmly offers a cup of hot tea as a reward if he can hold out for just another 30 seconds. He grits his teeth and sweats under the pressure, determined to prove himself. The force of the blow sends him tumbling down the snowy slope. Before he can recover, the enraged white ghost is upon him again. He ducks just in time, the beast's massive claws swiping through the air above his head. The tip of a claw still manages to graze his cheek, but he grits his teeth through the sting. The monster roars in frustration, stomping its feet and shaking the very ground beneath him. It lunges forward once more, preparing to bring its full weight down upon him. Instead of dodging, he braces himself and throws his arms up to block the attack. A brilliant blade of azure energy suddenly erupts from his arms to meet the blow. From the sidelines, both Xia Yan and his sister watch the unexpected development with surprise. His sister's mind flashes back to their conversation that morning when Xia Yan chided her for worrying. She remembers voicing her concern that he only has 9 star slots to fill. Xia Yan had tried to reassure her, speaking of practicality in their harsh environment. The reasoning was that he needed this foundational skill to survive the creatures they would face. Now he channels that very skill with a look of fierce determination. A system notification flashes in his mind, identifying the technique as Azure Flash. He unleashes the new power in a single strike, sending the white ghost reeling backward. His feet dig into the snow as he brings himself to a sudden, decisive halt. He pulls out the star bead that granted him this power, its energy still swirling within. He recalls absorbing it that morning and immediately checking its upgrade requirements. The system had shown him the path forward, a way to enhance his skills using the points he had earned. The system interface confirmed he had 2 points available to spend. He studies the glowing blue screen, a plan already forming in his mind. He recalls the realization that set him apart from everyone else. His skills were not fixed and could evolve infinitely. His internal star chart displays his 4 upgradable skills, a testament to this unique power. He mulls over the steep cost of advancement, knowing each tier would require a massive amount of resources. But with the promise of a qualitative change in power, he does not hesitate to absorb absorb the star pearl in his hand. The system immediately confirms the influx of new star power. He channels the energy directly into his new abilities, instantly maxing out both Azure Flash and Endurance to their bronze level cap. With the conditions met, a new notification announces that both skills have successfully evolved to the silver tier. Just then, a sharp icicle lances down from above, narrowly missing the roaring white ghost. It shatters against the snow, but the distraction only serves to enrage the beast further as it charges him. Instead of retreating, he looks up as the familiar pattern of the Big Dipper materializes above him. A brilliant blue light flares in his eye as he draws on his newfound strength. His sister screams his name from the sidelines, begging him to get out of the way of the monster's attack. But he ignores her plea, clenching his fist as he focuses his energy. He then unleashes the silver tier Azure Flash, sending a massive wave of energy surging toward his opponent. His expression is one of pure unyielding focus as the attack connects. The blow strikes with incredible force, sending the massive white ghost flying backward through the air. It crashes into the snow with a thud, lying still and defeated. Before he can even catch his breath, Xia Yan descends from above, her flaming greatsword ready for the next round. But the monster she prepared to fight is already down, bleeding out into the snow. She lands and calls out his name, her voice echoing across the silent battlefield. His sister, however, steps forward with frantic urgency, demanding to see his star chart immediately. He complies, revealing the glowing constellation within him as he begins to explain what happened. He decides to be completely honest, explaining that his ability to upgrade skills is a secret he can only trust them with. He acknowledges how shocking his revelation must be, a nervous sweat beating on his temple. Xia Yan looks back at him, her own eyes welling with emotion as she affirms their bond. His sister, however, remains silent, her expression a mixture of shock and something unreadable. Her lips part as she finally speaks, offering a quiet apology. Her words catch him off guard, leaving him confused as she admits to keeping a secret of her own. His mind reels with questions, unable to process her sudden apology. She looks away, confessing that she took a powerful star bead called Shatter that their parents had left for him. He immediately dismisses her guilt, asking if she means the space-type star bead that can swallow monsters. With a gentle smile, he tells her that her superior talent was always the better fit for such a rare skill. Xia Yan points out that his recent progress proves he does not need it, having already absorbed two powerful dual skills. His sister meets her gaze, explaining that because it was a gold quality skill, she believed he would be able to absorb it now. He inwardly notes her conflicted nature, but she simply says he is giving her too much credit. He holds up a finger, beginning a logical breakdown of why her decision was correct in the first place. He then raises a second finger, adding that even if he could absorb it, he would not have the power to use it. He explains that as a low-level Stardust Awakener, even his new silver tier Azure Flash drained half his energy. Using a gold tier skill would have been a suicidal move, leaving him completely drained and defenseless. Both women listen in silence, the weight of his logic settling upon them. He closes his eyes and places a hand over his heart, telling her that the old him was unreliable and she made the right choice to protect him. His maturity and understanding leave her, flustered, her face flushing red as she stammers his name. He then strikes a pose, teasingly calling her a dunce for not knowing such common sense. Xia Yan laughs and pulls him into a playful headlock, praising his newfound maturity before asking about the limits of his power. He explains that improvement comes from training and absorbing more star pearls, and that his only limit right now is his own star power. She looks up in thought, realizing that leveling his skills and his own power must go hand in hand. She throws her hands up in mock despair, lamenting that she cannot just throw money at the problem to speed things up. Her playful expression then fades, replaced by a sudden seriousness in her eyes. She warns him that his unique talent is a treasure that cannot be exposed lightly, especially once he enters school and is forced to join a squad. He listens to her warning about choosing the wrong teammates and then boldly asks if he can just join their squad directly. His simple question leaves both women standing in stunned silence. He touches his chin, confused by their lack of response and wondering if he said something wrong. Xia Yan and his sister exchange a wide-eyed glance as the implications of his idea suddenly dawn on them. The realization hits Xia Yan first as she looks up and exclaims that she completely forgot such an option was possible. Later that night, they gather inside their tent to seriously discuss this new path. Xia Yan holds her warm drink, beginning to outline the dangers he would face if left on his own. She explains that with his overpowering abilities, suppressing his skills for 3 years of high school would be impossible and dangerous. With a new plan solidifying, she looks at them both and says she has a proposal. She declares that he should skip his senior year and join their squad, immediately leaving him completely shocked. This would cut down his time in high school and allow them to shape him into a powerhouse over the next 4 years of university. She smiles, confidently certain that with their combined abilities, protecting him as he grows will not be a problem. They can act as his strongest support until he graduates, even creating a cover story for his high-quality skills. His sister agrees, adding that that they should first focus on raising his blessing skill to silver quality before he reveals his star chart to anyone. Xia Yan immediately latches onto the idea, vowing to spend millions to buy the necessary star pearls to make it happen. He listens to their rapid-fire planning, stunned that his future has seemingly been decided in a matter of minutes. The shock quickly gives way to a smug grin as he realizes he is about to become a member of their elite squad. His happy thought is cut short, however, as he senses there might be a catch. Xia Yan looks down at him from her seat, explaining that it is not so simple because their squad is already full. Her words bring his excitement to a screeching halt, leaving him utterly bewildered. He clutches his head in anguish, shouting in disbelief at the absurd contradiction. Xia Yan calmly continues, explaining the issue lies with a teammate named Gao Junwei who is pursuing his sister. He listens with a baffled expression as she describes the man as a powerful close combat type. The problem, she reveals over an image of the smirking man, is his selfish and arrogant personality. She recounts a past mission in a different dimensional space where his recklessness nearly got one of their teammates killed. The incident led to a bitter rivalry between the two men, both too proud to back down due to their powerful family backgrounds. As a result, she explains with a sigh, their internal conflict effectively fractured the squad, leaving it disbanded in all but name. She then looks at him, proposing that with his rare healing abilities and a bit more strength, he could be the solution. His eyes widen slightly as she states he would be qualified to replace one of them. Xia Yan admits she and his sister had already been planning to leave the dysfunctional team on their own, but the cost of leaving was too high, as finding two new members of their caliber would be nearly impossible. The fire crackles beside their tent as she continues to lay out the difficulties they faced. She elaborates that with college entrance exams approaching, no established teams are willing to break up and reform. Of course, she clarifies with a smug grin, she is only referring to students at their top-tier level. He chimes in with a confident smile, agreeing that plenty of weaker students would jump at the chance to be carried. She grows serious again, adding that simply quitting would mean facing immense pressure from both their families and the school. His sister then speaks up, revealing that the man Gao Junchen has been disgustingly persistent in his pursuit of her for a year. Hearing this, his expression hardens as he declares that working with Gao Junchen is no longer an option. Xia Yan smiles, revealing her true plan was to preserve the team just long enough for him to make his debut as a dark horse. The ultimate goal, she concludes, is for him to become strong enough to kick Gao Junwei out of the team for good. She promises to handle the school logistics, clearing the path for him to skip his senior year entirely. He sits by the fire, quietly contemplating the immense pressure of their new plan. His sister glances over her, expression filled with concern for the burden he is about to take on. She looks down, telling him not to feel pressured by their expectations. Even Xia Yan softens, thinking they might be pushing the newly matured boy too hard. But he stands and interrupts their worries, declaring that he wants to give this a shot. His sister looks up, surprised by the conviction in his voice, as he explains this is for his own survival too. He turns to face them with a fiery gaze, rejecting any notion of backing down and demanding to join their team. His determination leaves his sister speechless, a hand pressed to her heart. With the decision made, 7 days of intense training pass in a blur. The result is another dead white ghost, its blood staining the pristine snow. He stands over his kill, a system notification confirming his dagger mastery has advanced to the silver tier. A confident smile spreads across his face, proud to have finally managed a solo kill. Xia Yan walks up to him, finding him still catching his breath over the fallen beast. She shivers, theatrically praising his work before asking him to use his star power to warm her up. He sighs, reminding her that his blessing is a healing skill, not a personal heater. Despite his protests, a warm golden light soon envelops her. She closes her eyes in bliss, humming with pleasure as the healing energy soothes the cold. He and his sister can only watch with deadpan expressions as Xia Yan basks in the cozy warmth. His sister then turns to him, her tone serious, as she lays out the final week's plan before school begins. He closes his eyes and gives a simple wave, acknowledging her plan. But before they can act, a brilliant blue light suddenly appears on the horizon. They all look up as a signal flare streaks across the vast empty sky. His sister's eyes widen as she tries to identify the unexpected signal. She realizes it is a distress call, alerting them that another team is in trouble nearby. He immediately turns, asking if they should go and help. She quickly stops him, explaining that a flare from a guardian team is not a call for assistance. It is a stark warning for all other explorers to stay away from the extreme danger ahead. Meanwhile, the squad that fired the flare is being overrun, their leader screaming in desperation. His sister immediately barks orders for them to take cover, warning that whatever is chasing that team is heading straight for them. The fleeing squad's desperation becomes clear as one member screams to his captain that they cannot shake their pursuers. Another teammate cries out in despair, his star power almost completely depleted, as he realizes they are all about to die. Their captain grits his teeth, a bead of sweat tracing a line down his grim face. He makes a terrible decision, summoning a ball of crackling fire fire to his fingertips. The captain then fires the blast directly into the back of his exhausted teammate. Struck by the betrayal, the man looks back in utter shock, unable to believe what just happened. The captain glances back with a cruel smirk, promising to report that he died a hero's death. Abandoned and injured, the man is swarmed by a horde of monstrous white ghosts. He lets out a final agonizing scream as the beasts descend upon him. His bloody hand reaches out toward the distant figure of his captain, who has already left him for dead. The massive clawed feet of the white ghosts land in the snow all around him. From their vantage point, the three of them watch the terrifying horde stampede across the valley. He stares in disbelief at the sheer number of them, calling it a white ghost parade. His sister realizes that the fleeing team must have provoked the younglings of a white ghost shaman. He turns to her, his expression tense as he asks what they should do. She tells him to wait, her gaze fixed on two red-robed figures in the distance leading the hunt. She identifies them as white ghost shamans, realizing they possess the exact star pearls he needs for his blessing skill. Seeing a golden opportunity, she declares that now is the time to strike and shouts for Xia Yan. Xia Yan instantly blazes into action, descending like a fiery comet upon the shamans and their horde. Her fiery descent is cut short as she is violently swatted from the air, crashing into a thick tree trunk. The force sends her tumbling across the snow, a pained grunt escaping her lips from the brutal impact. He can only watch in horror, screaming her name as she goes down. His sister reacts, instantly crushing a brilliant red star crystal in her palm to replenish Xia Yan's energy. A vibrant stream of power flows from her hand, pouring directly into her fallen teammate. Revitalized, Xia Yan springs to her feet with an ecstatic gasp, her body now glowing with a potent pink aura. A wild battle-crazed grin spreads across her face as she eagerly invites the monsters to a proper fight. She then launches herself back toward the horde with renewed vigor, leaving him to question if she is on steroids. He sheepishly admits that his blessing might have been a bit too strong when he focused it on her. His sister sighs, explaining that having a personal healer has made Xia Yan blindly overconfident in battle. Deciding they can no longer count on her, she resolves to lure the white ghost shaman over to them herself. She tells him to watch her back as they stand ready, preparing for the fight of their lives. A monstrous white ghost lets out a deafening roar as it barrels directly toward him. It swings its massive claws only to pass through a shimmering afterimage of his sister. The decoy buys him the perfect opening to slide in close unseen by the raging beast. He seizes the moment, plunging his glowing dagger deep into the monster's neck. With glowing eyes, he stands over the corpse of the fallen beast, his stance cold and efficient. A system notification suddenly pops up, rewarding him with a skill point for a 10-kill bonus. He looks up in confusion, wondering how he is getting rewards even when his teammates land the final blow. His thoughts are interrupted by Xia Yan, who shivers dramatically and begs him for another blessing to warm her up. He shouts back in exasperation, protesting that he is nearly out of star power and cannot be her personal furnace. Just then, his sister points out that the white ghost shaman is taking advantage of the chaos to flee. Seeing their primary target about to escape, he instinctively yells for his teammates to stop it. Xia Yan answers his call, her face a mask of determination as she prepares to give chase. Declaring that escape is not an option, she stomps down hard on a nearby rock to launch herself forward. But the rock shatters under the force, sending her face planting into a cloud of snow as he watches in disbelief. His sister grits her teeth in frustration, cursing that the shaman is now just out of her attack's range. He watches the escaping monsters, desperately trying to think of a way to slow them down. A memory surfaces of his sister, explaining that his blessing is unlike any other. She had told him how it not only heals, but also induces a state of incredible comfort. He recalls Xia Yan's blissed-out expression, a testament to the skill's potent side effects. A sly grin spreads across his face as he realizes that this comforting effect might be the very weapon they need. He puts his plan into action, unleashing a massive wave of his blessing upon the fleeing horde. The pink energy washes over a white ghost, mount its eyes widening in shock as the sensation hits. Instead of pain, the beast is overcome with pure bliss, its head thrown back in a state of euphoric comfort. The shaman roars in fury, enraged that its mount has suddenly stopped its escape. Seeing her opening, his sister's eyes narrow as she prepares her own attack. A storm of ethereal chains and blades erupts from her, instantly ensnaring and shredding the distracted shaman. She stands poised in the aftermath, her deadly work complete. The once fearsome shaman and its beasts now lie motionless in the snow before them. Xia Yan slumps to the ground, panting in disbelief at how quickly the fight ended. She then turns to him with a look of impressed surprise, praising his clever and unconventional tactic. His sister, however, raises a fist, clearly unamused by Xia Yan's choice of words. Xia Yan immediately panics, crying out an apology for her poor phrasing. With the immediate threat gone, they turn their attention to the fallen explorers, confirming that one is already dead. Xia Yan holds up the glowing star pearl retrieved from the shaman, declaring their mission a success. He then turns back to the corpse, asking for final confirmation of death before he begins a grim task. His sister explains the necessity of extracting extracting the star pearl from the man's brain lest other monsters be drawn to it. The grim reality of the task makes him recoil in horror, shocked by his teammates' casual demeanor. His sister urges him to hurry, reminding him that the rest of the horde will soon return for their fallen leader. He glances over and sees the bloody aftermath of the betrayal, with bodies strewn across the snow. The lone survivor from the other team stares in utter terror, realizing he is the only one left alive. They stand over the body of the explorer who was betrayed by his own captain. The sight makes his stomach churn, and he claps a hand over his mouth to stifle a gasp. His sister, however, shows no pity, stating that the team brought this fate upon themselves. She explains that by provoking a marked shaman cub, they ensured they would be hunted to the ends of the earth. Xia Yan, searching the corpse, wonders aloud why they had so few star pearls on them. His sister kneels down, theorizing they must have used up all their reserves while fleeing the horde. Xia Yan then turns to him, asking if she can see the human star pearl his sister just extracted. His sister holds the glowing pink orb out to him, instead asking if he is scared of something that came from a corpse. He accepts the pearl, observing that its only difference from a monster's is the inability to absorb skills from it. Just as he finishes the thought, a sudden chime sounds from his system interface. The system begins detecting something within the pearl, its glow reflected in his widening eye. He looks on in shock, realizing his system is trying to do what everyone says is impossible. A brilliant pink energy then violently erupts from the pearl in his hand.